Welcome back to the Path of Exile Crucible League spoiler season. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Tanu Ahi, the new gloves. I don't know how that's said. Feel free to correct me down in the comments. I'm sure I said it wrong because I'm an American and we know nothing about pronouncing stuff. But with that quick disclaimer out of the way, let's dive into these gloves because they are very interesting. First off, the base stats on the item are none too impressive until you get to the unique modifiers. 12% increased attack speed is whatever. Increased armor and evasion, sure, better than nothing, but not quite great. And some physical attack damage leached his life, which would be great if there were more physical attack damage builds, and if there wasn't 1.5 billion sources of physical attack damage leached his life. However, what you are giving up on your gloves is nothing compared to what you're gaining. 10% chance to gain adrenaline for 2 seconds when leech is removed by filling unreserved life. So if you're in some sort of equilibrium state, where let's say you use life tap and you have instant leech, my understanding of that setup would be that A, you attack, which spends your life with life tap, then B, you leech some of that damage, instantly healing yourself to full, and if you happen to take a hit, you do leech a little bit based off of the other 90% over time. You can always take something like Volpact, completely disable your regen. Every time that happens, 10% chance for 2 seconds to get adrenaline. Which means if you have a decently high attack rate, let's say 5 to 10 attacks per second, there's a very good chance you'll have adrenaline up while you're able to attack. This of course also means that the more you're attacking, the faster you're attacking, the better your uptime on adrenaline. Except that's not all, because you also have a 10% chance to gain Onslaught for 4 seconds when leech is removed by filling unreserved life. And this raises an interesting question. Is it adrenaline for 2 seconds? Or is it adrenaline for 2 to 4 seconds? Because if you can get adrenaline and Onslaught for 4 seconds, even with a moderately low attack speed, such as let's say 5 attacks per second, you should have pretty near 100% uptime while clearing, and darn good uptime for the rest of your boss fights. Sure, it might not be perfect, but let's be honest. Given invulnerability phases and the like, it's rarely going to be perfect anyway. So this item is really, really cool. But there is one other thing that I have to talk about in a little bit more detail. When leech is removed by filling unreserved life. What this means is if you are leeching and also regenerating life and many other factors, using a life flask. When it fills up, normally, it stops healing you. If you have overleech, such as if you're a Slayer or Ascendant Slayer, then the leech keeps going past this cap. So, you do not want to use these gloves on a Slayer, Ascendant Slayer, or any other class with life overleech. I would guess that if life leech is not applied, then you also don't gain the effects, so no cheesing in that regard. Although, that does raise an interesting question. If your life leech isn't applied and your unreserved life is filled by another effect, let's say regeneration or life gain on hit, maybe you do gain the effect. I personally don't know that it's going to work. I've also seen way stranger things, and so it's something you'll very much want to test. Day 1, day 2, just grab a character on standard and see for yourself. If you want to be safe, I would plan on it not working as opposed to planning on it working. But now that I've talked about the basics, then some of the downsides, what about the upside? Adrenaline gives generic damage, meaning it's good for both hit and damage over time builds, crit and non-crit builds. Similarly, adrenaline also gives you speed and damage reduction, meaning it makes you tankier, and you get to go faster. Zoom Zoom is good. Onslaught, on the other hand, is pretty much pure Zoom Zoom, attack, cast, and movement speed. So, if you happen to be a spellcaster, this is still useful to you. That said, being a spellcaster and getting life leech is honestly a lot more difficult, so maybe not quite as useful unless you're a cast on crit variant. If you're an attack build, this is extremely useful to you. It's really easy to get leech on attack builds, and getting extra attack and movement speed always feels good, especially when clearing maps. Last but not least, these gloves look like they're fairly low level and hopefully are relatively common. If that's the case, not only will you be able to swap them while leveling, that should feel really good, but when you get to the end game, you can corrupt them. And there's a lot of really nice corruptions for gloves. Two of the things that come to mind right now are +1 to maximum frenzy charges and +level to socketed gems. So if you've ever wanted something like a level 4 Empower, maybe even a level 5 Awakened Empower without paying that premium price, +1 to socketed gems means your level 3 Empower becomes a level 4, and your level 4 becomes a level 5 effectively. Except without having to spend 100 Divines on a level 5 Awakened Empower, something that honestly is really effective for how much it costs. The same thing goes for Enlighten and Enhance. And with this being my last news video before Path of Exile Crucible League comes out, I wanted to take a quick moment to look back and give some 60-second thoughts or less on previous spoilers to see if any of my opinions have changed. So let's do that now. First up, the Ruthless movement skill. I have never particularly wanted to play Ruthless, and this doesn't change that. The Stunning Unique Jewel. I still think this is going to be a favorite of Joseph's builds and relatively unused by everyone else. Crucible passive tree, that's been awesome, and I look forward to seeing more. Having Ice Spear return raised more questions than it really gave answers, or specifically Ball Lightning, given some of the clarification around Nimbus. I'm hoping to see more, or more realistically just test it in game day 1 or 2. Matryoshka, I'm probably going to collect a bunch and open them at the end of a league. Unless, of course, they're super expensive, in which case I'll just leave that to someone else. Vol Domination is a skill that exists. I've never really wanted to play it. Moving on. Brother's Gift, it's a deterministic way to farm divines, or at the very least, pseudo-deterministic way to get more divine drops in your maps. Vol Animate Weapon, again, no interest in playing it. Vol Ice Shot. Kind of disappointed in it, to be honest. I feel like it's not going to replace Ballista for your single target, and yeah, if you can't replace Ballista, I don't really know where the place of this is. It feels like a single target damage steroid for a build that kind of already does something with that. I don't know, Vol Lightning Shot's more interesting to me, to be honest. Soulbound Unique Ring, does anyone use Link skills? I didn't even make a video on this because it just didn't feel that relevant. Momentum, really good at low levels. This video did not give much context to that. The Leave command, it's great. You'll have a Leave macro as well as a Hideout macro. New Unique Jewel, Ancestral Vision, completely awesome. I love it. More ways to get that juicy Elemental Avoid, and you're probably going to have spell suppression anyway, so it's just upside. Menagerie Quality of Life, releasing Beast is good, so I'm all for it. Stormseeker, I was hoping this meant there's going to be a mana archetype rework. We did get Mana Forged Arrows. I guess that's cool, but I don't think these gloves are going to see much use. That said, Mana Forged Arrows looks awesome, and I'm absolutely going to Theorycraft, if not play a build with it, at some point in the future. I don't know if it's going to be 321, 322. Maybe I'll just Theorycraft and decide not to play it. Sometimes that happens. If you want to see that, be sure to get subscribed and stay tuned, because I'll probably at least talk about it, even if I don't play the build. Quality of life for anointments. This is good. I sometimes couldn't tell two different colors apart, not because I couldn't see the difference, but because I forgot the name of each. Being able to read it is going to be way easier. And finally, Chaos Orbs stacking up to 20. It's going to be really interesting to see the economic implications of this. I don't know if that was exactly 60 seconds or less. I tried to keep it short, concise, and to the point. In most cases, I do agree with my original thoughts, the one notable exception being the mana gloves. With that said, I hope you've enjoyed these daily dives into the news. If you want to see more Path of Exile news, let me know what sort of topics that you want to see me cover down in the comments below. If I don't see you before League start, good luck. And if I do, stay tuned, because I might make a video talking about builds I'm going to League start, potentially League start, all that stuff, since I am super indecisive. And so, if you want to see that, do be sure to leave a like, and then look out for it tomorrow morning. Before I go, a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for their continued support. For as little as $1 a month, you can help make videos just like this one possible. If you want to do that, then use the link down in the description. If you want something else to watch, maybe check out my more in-depth thoughts on all of the other news topics. I'll have a playlist along with some other League Start videos down in the description and up in the card right now. Or you can always go for a recommendation on screen. That said, thanks for watching, I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.